lions. You can tell they're sea lions and not seals because they have long front flippers, but they also have ear flaps. These happen to be California sea lions. And in the mix, you can actually see a couple of males. Oh, where'd it go? There's one big male in the back. Oh, right here in the front, yeah. The big one? On the left, that bigger one. He's actually kind of a young male, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
Is that where, like, all of them want to meet with him?
He'll get twice as long.
No, those are probably juveniles, probably even juvenile males this time of year. You can also see that he's a male because he's got a big bump on his forehead. That's called a sagittal crest. Do you guys say that?
Sagittal crest.
Sagittal crest, yeah.
The bigger
exactly,
one
the bigger one here on the left.
On the front.
Exactly, he's got another one laying on his back and he's got laying his head on another one. What do you guys think that sea lions eat? They eat fish, they eat lots of fish. They eat so much fish, as a matter of fact, that a lot of fishermen even don't like sea lions so much. They find flat surfaces like this and they just think, oh, you made a nice place for me to lay. It could be a boat. And do you want sea lions laying on your boat? Yeah, no, not really. They're heavy, they're big, they make a lot of mess.
They smell.
2 years ago, 59,000 sea lions were born on the Channel Islands here.
Wow.
59,000 were born. Wow. So you can imagine how many. I mean, there's over 300,000 in the population along California. I'm sorry, I just bumped you there. And they're doing very well, obviously, right? If 59,000 are born, they're reproducing at quite a big rate. And the question becomes then, you know, where do they all go? And they go on boats and on docks and anywhere they want. So there's a little bit of this overlap with people and sea lions, and you know, so there's a little bit of a question. Look at how big this one is on this side. Now, is that a big male, you think, again? Yeah, the biggest ones are males. They get to be about 800 pounds, well over twice the size of an adult female. Most of those are pups, though, and probably a few females in there.
There's a word to describe the difference in size between male and female.
What's that phrase?
It's based on sex. Di, prefix means what? Two. Morphism. Morph is shape or size, so sexual dimorphism. So the males are much bigger than the female.
The difference in color also is primarily wet versus dry. They haul out to warm up and to rest. So when you see them out like because they're fine, they'll spill off, get back in the water, and get back up on the dock. But that's why you see some really dark and some light.
The breeding grounds are on the Channel Islands, so the females will have their pups on the islands, and the females will stay near the islands pretty much all their lives. The adult females, but the young and the males kind of range widely to find new feeding grounds. So that's what these guys are. These guys are all young animals and probably mostly males. And those are the ones, for example, that we see at Pier 39 in San Francisco. They've become really famous over there. And they'll also range past the breeding grounds up into Oregon. And their normal breeding grounds are from the Farallon Islands to the Channel Islands, to the islands off Baja, and into the Sea of Cortez.
One of the things that's happened in more recent years is the feeding is such that, you know what they feed on? Fish, all right? The fish that they feed on are eating the plankton. We'll see some of the plankton we collected on the dock. But some of that plankton has now certain elements in it that have become explosion of growth, and that is harmful algae. It's called harmful algal bloom, HABs. We're seeing them more commonly down here in Southern California, and that concentrates a toxin that's a neurotoxin. That neurotoxin is concentrated by the fish. The fish eat millions and millions of these algal bloom plants, and then they concentrate the toxin. then the sea lions eat it, and the seals eat it, and the birds eat it, and then they get sick from that harmful algal bloom. So the Marine Mammal Center up on Palos Verdes there collects these animals and tries to rehabilitate them. So they purge their system of the algae problems, the neurotoxin. Hopefully they survive and will live. But we see them out on Catalina a lot. They'll just come out there, and you can walk right up to a seal or a sea lion and they don't move. They're shivering and they're shaking. They look like they've got Parkinson's or something. And that neurotoxin just shuts them down and they can't survive sometimes. So one of the things we're trying to study with plankton is what is causing these extra blooms of this harmful algal material, and why are we seeing them so much more now than we were in past years. So there's a big, as a matter of fact, there's a science going on right now at Sea Lab on that.
Many of you are in the physioanatomy class, so neurotoxin, we're actually studying the brain now. Okay, neurotoxin, right? So it's a poison that affects the brain, the nervous system. And we started studying about neurotransmitters, right? So the chemicals that exist between the axon terminal and a dendrite. So that is where you would have the impact of these chemicals. If you see a sea lion with its flipper, okay, up in the air or swimming along out of the water, what do you think might be going on, other than waving at you?
They lost their ability to move because of the chemical?
Okay, could be one possibility, but if you see a lot of them doing it at different times, especially after they've been swimming a lot or sitting in the sun a lot, temperature, right, temperature. It's called thermoregulation. Again, one of those science words if you break it in two. They're trying to regulate their body temperature. They don't sweat the way you sweat. They don't have the sweat glands. So they regulate their temperature, and big orcas do this also by putting a flipper out of the water, in the water, to try and maintain a homeostasis, remember that big word, of their body temperature.
By the way, that behavior that Mark's talking about when you see them is called rafting.